Hi, David Erdos, back with a new poem. The 10th of February and the turn of the 10th of February mark the anniversary of my parents' deaths, and every year I write a piece for them. It's very personal. This may be the most personal I've written, and I hope it says something to all of those who have endured the same losses. On this scared and sacred day, or Erdoses, for Tomasz and Lillian Erdos. A face long unloved will at some point grow ugly, as unkissed features untended will, as with an unkempt garden, grow wild, as it is with my face, and as it is with my garden, which under my mother's care was well tended, back before her life's strong argued case became filed. Sadly for me, this was closed 12 years ago, today, to the letter, while 18 before her, and now 3 decades gone, my dad, too, fell into an empty bath, heart-attacked, his brown eyes exchanged for black glasses, while my mum, cancer-coated and cosmos-conveyed, lost life's hue. She looked close to green when she died, an alien primed in her passing, both for stars and sensations that those lumbered by life can't describe. For it can be a burden to build from first breath a common cause that carves purpose, as life's loan accrues interest before being recalled by fate as God's jibe. And here is the punchline for me and my 2 special people, joined by one day, as if driven by a speeding death with no clutch. By 1994, they had been divorced for 10 years, in which my dad had not said a word to my mother. He had lived with 3 women in 4 different houses, stepfathered. Indeed, my dad's decade away from my mum had brought much, before it too was all lost, from his own sacred mother to his job, house and girlfriend. So when he travelled to me, he was the true walking wounded, and a brave one at that, with no crutch. I had started acting by then, just as his work was ending. He had nowhere to go, but was hopeful that in Liverpool he'd renew. And so I found him a flat and a job to tide him over. But that starred sea was soon turning, as bolts in the blue splatter sun, and the cold fronts confirm. Liverpool was my father's 3rd city. From Budapest under Stalin to Eden's London, snakes and ladders slid and were falling, with each sting a stirring, while potentially set to stun. And yet Tomasz prospered and walked, learning both the language and London. My grandmother, uncle and aunt quickly followed, and their Holocaust loss was appeased. They became suburban and rose around the garden gates of this country. Carefully pruned and in Kenton, they became settled, having first been the seized. My mum lived next door, and while her dad's bookie-bred fate and fortune brought comfort, it was tainted too by frustration, as a lack of scope shaped her life. Girls like her had to work. There was little or no aspiration. University was the province not of Zone 6. The class knife may not have been sharpened by then, but you could still feel it cut all around you. A good girl got married. You were at best secretary, and nothing at all if not wife. She was in Dickens and Jones at 15, and at 21 she nearly ran away with a sailor. But this was soon stopped by her parents. He wasn't Jewish, you see. Creed as strife. And so the two met, and in 1963 They were married. 6 years passed together, it seems reasonably. And then I was born, and the trouble was seeded. With birth's primal focus, my parents' rebound fucked the free. By showing love's bind lays in the mind of a marriage, whose thoughts can roam. Being happy is conjecture at best, at worst, dream. And so they sought other things throughout a slow separation. It took them 14 years to find freedom and to fully understand what that means. They were never really happy again, though each, of course, had their moments, as have I. Yet that island, which others gain and grace, remains far and separated by sea, as I contemplate wasted water. On this day of all days, as I search and scribe for the star that may shine still on them and grant them renewal. In that golden garden where nothing is wild and each bloom has a beginning scored in, pulsating through pollen that bursts for black hole bees and for beings who strive beyond box and room and live again somewhere else and as something else also. On the turn of the 10th, my two people, the authors of my heart, were star-joined. They could not see in their life the prize and purpose between them. Love does not need consummation, and is not bought by chance or by coin. It is perhaps that far force whose origin point remains open. Love can be darkness. It is absence and arc, loss and loin. For the dead become beautiful as soon as memory seals them. The dead design for us the lasting look of all things. And so I grow uglier as each feature fattens, and am reaching an age where the movement between what I was and will be plays lute strings and moves much faster each day. We should not forget that gravity was not made for apples. It abounds for position and for the force of attraction between object and earth, sun and me. Gravity is ghost influence. It is appeal and need. It's love lending, both you and I to the planet and to the proper place to feel free, which is wherever they are, as divorced in death as in living, but as perhaps twinned lights shining, communication of sorts can resume. So today, and unloved, I imagine an entirely different encounter, and one that is rhymed and romantic, in which mistakes are closed mirrors and accomplishments are sent signals. I send one now with this poem. Mum and Dad, can you see me? On this scared and sacred day, I am dying to speak and sense you here. See you soon. David Erdos, February the 10th, 2024.